Harold reached for the towel hanging on the bathroom rack, same one he'd used yesterday morning. The bathroom mirror still held steam from his shower, the December cold making the old farmhouse windows sweat. His hand stopped halfway. The towel smelled wrong. Not Old Spice. He'd worn the same brand 40 years, since before Emma passed. This was sharp, expensive. Bergamot maybe, and something else. Cedar, the kind of cologne a younger man would wear. Harold brought the towel closer to his face, breathing it in like a fool who needed to be sure. His gut knew before his brain would admit it. Emma never would have. He heard Diane's Mercedes pulling into the driveway, tires crunching gravel. She'd left early this morning, said she was going to the store. Harold looked at his reflection in the fogged mirror. Old man, tired eyes, thinning gray hair. The front door opened downstairs. He was going to ask anyway. 3 hours later, Harold was looking for aspirin. Headache coming on, the kind that started behind his eyes and worked its way back. Diane kept Advil in her purse. She always had some. Her purse sat on the kitchen counter, black leather, expensive, one of the things she'd bought after they got married. Harold opened it, feeling wrong about it, but needing the aspirin more than he needed pride. His hand found the Advil bottle, found something else too, a receipt folded once, Riverside Inn. Room 247, $189. 3 weeks ago, November 10th, Tuesday. Harold and Diane didn't travel. Never stayed at hotels, especially not the Riverside Inn 20 minutes down Route 40. He sat at the kitchen table, the same oak table he and Emma had bought in 1979, scarred from 50 years of meals, and stared at the receipt. The paper felt thin between his fingers, fragile as the truth it carried. He heard Diane's car in the driveway. His heart kicked against his ribs, same way it had in Da Nang in '69 when the mortars started. He hadn't felt that particular fear in 55 years. Diane came through the door, singing. Some pop song from the radio, bright and careless. She had shopping bags from the department store, the kind with rope handles. Saw Harold, sitting at the table with the receipt in his hand. Her face didn't change. No fear, no guilt. She just set the bags down slow and turned to face him. "You went through my purse?" Harold's mouth was dry. "I was looking for aspirin. So you went through my things." "Diane." His voice came out smaller than he wanted. "What's this?" She glanced at the receipt like it was a grocery list. "A hotel." "I can see that. Why were you at a hotel?" Diane sighed, the way you'd sigh at a child asking why the sky was blue. "His name is Derek. He's 42. The kitchen tilted. Harold gripped the edge of the table. "You're having an affair." "I wouldn't call it that." Diane leaned against the counter, arms crossed. "We're friends." "Friends don't get hotel rooms." "Look at yourself, Harold." Her voice went flat, clinical. "Really, look. You're 68 years old. You've got a belly. Your knees are bad. This house smells like mothballs. You're boring." Each word landed like a fist. "Derek drives a Corvette. He goes to the gym. He still has his hair." She smiled, small and mean. "He makes me feel alive." Harold sat there, the receipt crumpling in his hand. "We're married. 8 months." "So what, Harold?" 3 words. That's all it took. "So what?" She pushed off the counter, voice rising. "You should be grateful I married you at all. A man your age? Who else would want you?" Harold couldn't speak, couldn't move. The kitchen he'd built with his own hands in 1979. The kitchen where Emma had cooked Christmas dinners and Sunday roasts and 5,000 ordinary meals felt like it belonged to someone else. "I didn't hear you complaining when I said yes." Diane picked up her shopping bags. "Don't wait up." She walked upstairs, casual, like they'd been discussing the weather. Harold sat alone at Emma's table, looked at his reflection in the dark window above the sink. Old man, belly, thinning hair, alone. She's right, he thought. Who else would want me? He heard Diane's footsteps overhead. Drawers opening and closing. No urgency, no shame. The clock on the wall ticked. Emma had picked that clock in 1985. Rooster painted on the face. She'd thought it was cheerful. Harold's hands started to shake. He set them flat on the table, trying to stop it, but the tremor ran through his fingers anyway. First time they'd shaken like that since Vietnam. He didn't sleep. Couldn't lie next to her, so he went to the guest room, Emma's old sewing room. The bed still smelled like the lavender sachets she used to make. 11 o'clock became 2, became 4. Harold stared at the ceiling, watching shadows from the bare oak tree outside shift across the plaster. His father's voice came back, clear as yesterday. "You're unmemorable, boy. Your brother got the looks. You got the work ethic? That's all you'll ever be good for." Harold was 14, hadn't thought about that in decades. He remembered his brother Michael getting all the girls, all the attention. Remembered Emma choosing him anyway, saying, "You're steady, Harold. That matters more than flash." Emma had made him feel like steady was enough, like being reliable, being faithful, being there, that those things had value. Diane just told him steady was worthless, that he should be grateful anyone would touch an old man with bad knees and a belly. At 5:47 a.m., Harold got up, made coffee, Maxwell House in the percolator, same as always. Same time, same routine. 52 years of mornings. His hands shook, pouring the water. Coffee grounds spilled on the counter. He heard the shower running upstairs. Diane, humming. The front door opened. Cal Hendricks, his neighbor, standing there with the newspaper, stopping mid-greeting. "Harold, you okay, buddy?" Harold opened his mouth. Nothing came out. He just shook his head. Cal set the paper down and sat at the table without asking. Cal poured himself coffee from the percolator without asking, sat across from Harold at the table, both hands wrapped around the mug like it was January instead of early December. "How long you been up?" Cal asked. "Didn't sleep. Figured." Cal took a sip, grimaced. "You make this coffee, or did you just boil dirt?" Harold almost smiled. Almost. They sat in silence. The clock ticked. Upstairs, the shower shut off. Both men looked at the ceiling, then back at their coffee. "I've been seeing things, Harold." Cal's voice went quiet. "Didn't know if I should say." Harold's stomach dropped. "What things?" "Her car, Diane's Mercedes." Cal turned the mug in his hands. "Leaves at odd hours. 11 at night, 2 in the morning. I'm an old man. Don't sleep good since Dorothy passed. I notice things." "How long?" 3 months, maybe more." 3 months. Harold had been married to Diane for 8. She'd been cheating almost since the beginning. 2 weeks ago, Cal continued, not meeting Harold's eyes. "I saw a man in your driveway. Young guy. Corvette. Expensive clothes, that whole deal." Harold's chest tightened. "Derek. Didn't know his name. But, yeah." Cal's jaw worked. "They kissed. Right there in your driveway, middle of the afternoon. I looked away, felt dirty watching it, but I saw it. The kitchen felt too small." Harold couldn't breathe right. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Wanted to." Cal's voice broke slightly. "But what do you say?" "Hey, Harold, your new wife's cheating on you. Dorothy would have told me to speak up. She always said the truth matters more than comfort, but I kept thinking, maybe I was wrong. Maybe it wasn't what it looked like." "It's what it looked like." "I'm sorry." Cal met his eyes finally. "I'm sorry I didn't say something sooner. I'm sorry you had to find out the way you did. And I'm sorry I'm telling you now, when you already know." Harold stared at his coffee, going cold. He hadn't touched it. "Young enough to be her son," Cal said, almost to himself. "That's what I kept thinking. Kid looked young enough to be her son." The phrase hung in the air. Harold's brain caught on it, turned it over, let it go. Didn't mean anything. Just an observation. Footsteps on the stairs. Both men went quiet, guilty like boys caught smoking behind the barn. Diane entered the kitchen, hair wet, bathrobe tied tight. She saw Cal, and her face hardened, just for a second. Then the smile came back, plastic and bright. "Morning, Cal. Early for a visit." Cal stood, setting his mug in the sink, just dropping off the paper. Harold looked like he could use some company. "How thoughtful." Diane moved past him to the coffee pot, her shoulder brushing his. "Territorial." "Harold's fine." "Aren't you, honey?" Harold didn't answer. Cal looked at him, a question in his eyes. "You okay?" Harold nodded once. Lie. Cal left. The screen door slammed behind him, and Harold heard his old Ford truck start up, idle rough in the cold morning. Diane poured coffee, added cream and sugar, the way she liked it, not the way Emma had drunk it black for 52 years. What did he want? Brought the paper. Awful early for that. She sat across from him, in Emma's chair. "What were you two talking about?" "Nothing." Didn't look like nothing. Harold stood, dumped his cold coffee in the sink. "I'm going to church." "It's Thursday." "I know what day it is." He left her sitting there, went upstairs to shave and put on clean clothes. His hands were steadier now. Rage did that sometimes, burned through the shaking, left you cold and clear. Sunday morning, Harold sat in the back pew of Ashford Community Church, like always. 9 a.m., bells ringing, winter light through the stained glass turning everything blue and gold. Pastor Mike gave a sermon on forgiveness. Harold was certain it was directed at him. The whole congregation probably knew by now. Small towns were like that. Cal had told someone, or Diane had been careless, or people just knew the way people always knew. During fellowship hour, Marge Henderson from the church council patted his hand. "You're in our prayers, Harold." The pity in her voice made his skin crawl. "Thank you," he managed. "If you need anything, I'm fine." He left before coffee hour. First time in 40 years he'd skipped it. Drove past the Riverside Inn on his way home. Saw Derek's Corvette in the parking lot. Red, shiny, expensive. Vanity plate. Dirk 1. 2 p.m. on a Sunday. Diane had said she was visiting a friend. Harold kept driving. Went home. sat on the couch in the dark living room, curtains drawn. The house felt huge and empty around him. Emma's absence was everywhere. In the silence where her humming used to be. In the kitchen that smelled like nothing instead of pot roast and fresh bread. He heard a vehicle in the driveway later, didn't get up, assumed it was Diane. But the engine idled, didn't hear a door open or close. Then the engine left. 20 minutes later, Harold opened the front door for air, needed to feel something besides the stale weight of the house. A casserole sat on the porch, tuna noodle, still warm, covered in foil. A note in Cal's handwriting, Dorothy's recipe. Heat at 350 if it's cold. No pressure, no sermon, just food. Harold brought it inside, sat at the table, ate alone with a fork straight from the dish. First meal he'd finished in 3 days. The tuna was bland and the noodles were mushy, but it was the best thing he'd tasted in a week. At 9 o'clock, Diane's car pulled up. Harold was washing the casserole dish. Raised right, you returned dishes clean. She came in smelling like cologne. Derek's cologne. The same sharp bergamot and cedar from the towel. Saw Harold at the sink, the casserole dish in his hands. Who brought food? Cal. Her face darkened. You told him? Didn't have to. Harold set the dish in the drainer. Whole town knows, Diane. For 1 second, her mask slipped. Fear flashed across her face, followed by calculation. Then it smoothed over, blank and cold. You need to learn to mind your own business. My marriage is my business. Is it? She moved past him toward the stairs. Could have fooled me. Harold watched her go. Listened to her footsteps overhead, the bedroom door closing. He stood at the sink, hands on the counter, looking out at the dark December fields. Cal's porch light was on across the way. A small yellow square in all that darkness. Something was shifting. Harold could feel it in the air. The same way he'd felt weather changes coming when he was surveying land. Pressure building, storm approaching. He dried his hands on the dish towel. Tomorrow was Monday. Tomorrow he'd figure out what to do. Tonight, he'd survived another day. That would have to be enough. Christmas Eve came cold and clear. Harold woke at 5:47 like always, made coffee, stood at the kitchen window watching the sun come up over frozen fields. The house smelled like cinnamon. He turned. Diane was at the stove, wearing Emma's old apron, the one with the faded strawberries. She had flour on her hands and tears on her face. Harold. Her voice broke. Can we talk? He didn't move. Didn't trust it. Please. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, leaving a streak of flour on her cheek. I made apple pie. Your favorite. Emma's recipe. The pie sat cooling on the counter. Golden crust, sugar crystals catching the morning light. Emma used to make that pie every Christmas Eve for 52 years. Harold's throat tightened. I ended it, Diane said. With Derek. I called him last night and told him it's over. He meant nothing, Harold. A moment of weakness. You're the real man. You're the one who's been there. Who's steady. Who knows what commitment means. She crossed the kitchen, stopped a foot away from him. Close enough he could smell her perfume under the cinnamon. Not Derek's cologne. Her own scent, the one she'd worn the day they met at the senior center. I'm so sorry. She reached for his hand. I'm so sorry. I don't deserve you. I know that. But if you'll give me another chance, I swear, I'll be the wife you deserve. The wife Emma would have wanted for you. Harold wanted to believe her so badly it hurt. Christmas tomorrow. Jennifer and the grandkids coming. The house alive again, warm, full of voices. He looked at the pie. The crust was perfect. Too perfect. Store-bought, his brain whispered. Emma made her crusts by hand. You could always see the imperfections, the thumbprints in the crimping. But he pushed the thought away. You mean it? His voice came out rough. It's over? Completely. Diane squeezed his hand. I deleted his number. Blocked him. I don't want that life, Harold. I want this. I want you. She led him to the living room. The Christmas tree was up, blue and white LED lights. Not the colored incandescent bulbs Emma had loved, but still, decorations hung from the branches. The house looked like Christmas they decorated together. Diane laughed at his stories about the kids when they were young, touched his arm, handed him ornaments like they were building something together. That night, after dinner, she led him upstairs. Initiated intimacy for the first time since October. Harold felt seen again, wanted, like maybe God was giving him one more chance at happiness. Afterward, Diane fell asleep in his arms, peaceful, her breathing slow and even. Harold stared at the ceiling. Christmas tree lights blinked through the open bedroom door, casting shadows that moved across the walls. Thank you, Emma, he whispered to the darkness, for giving me one more chance. The clock read 11:47. He should sleep. Tomorrow would be good. Jennifer, the grandkids, a real Christmas. But something wouldn't let him settle. Christmas morning came loud and chaotic. Emma and Michael, the grandkids, tore into presents while Jennifer made coffee and Diane played perfect grandmother. Harold cooked pancakes and bacon at the stove, Emma's Christmas morning tradition. Jennifer watched Diane, eyes narrow and assessing, but she said nothing, for Harold's sake. Dinner was a roast. Potatoes, green beans, Diane's apple pie for dessert. Michael asked for seconds. Emma, named for Harold's Emma, sat on Harold's lap and showed him her new doll. Cal stopped by in the afternoon with gifts for the kids, stayed for coffee, gave Harold a look that asked, "You okay?" Harold nodded. "I think so." At 8 p.m., Jennifer loaded the sleepy kids into the car, pulled Harold aside in the driveway. "Dad, you happy?" He looked back at the house. Lights on, Diane visible through the kitchen window washing dishes. It looked like a home again. "Yeah, Jen, I think I am." Jennifer hugged him tight. "Good, you deserve it." She drove away, taillights disappearing down the long gravel drive. Harold went inside, helped Diane with his dishes, working side by side, in comfortable silence. She hummed while she washed. He dried, like it could always be this way. At midnight, Harold woke to use the bathroom. Diane was asleep beside him, snoring softly. Her phone sat on the nightstand, face up, screen lit with a notification. Harold shouldn't look. Knew he shouldn't. But his hand reached anyway. Text from D. "Had to play nice. Old fool bought it. Feb 15, closing on farm, then we're clear. Keep your dick in your pants till closing. 847K split." Harold's heart stopped. Scrolled up. More messages. "Derek, how much longer? Getting tired of this shit." Diane, "Feb 15, closing on farm, then we're clear. 847K split." Derek, "Old bastard suspect anything?" Diane, "Had to play nice tonight. Old fool bought it. Just like the others." Derek, "What if he checks the deed?" Diane, "Too stupid. Too trusting. Just like the others." Harold read them 3 times, hands shaking so hard he could barely hold the phone. February 15th, closing, the farm, $847,000. He took screenshots, texted them to himself, deleted the evidence from her phone, the screenshot notification, the text to his number, put the phone back exactly where it was, lay back down beside her. She didn't stir. The Christmas tree lights blinked through the doorway. On, off, old fool bought it. Too stupid, too trusting, just like the others. Harold stared at the ceiling until the sun came up. January came in with 6 inches of snow and a mail delivery that changed everything. Harold stood at the mailbox, freezing wind cutting through his coat. 3 envelopes, all from banks he didn't recognize. Credit card statements. He opened the first one standing there in the road. Capital One Visa, balance $18,400. Card holder, Harold E. Watkins. He'd never opened a Capital One card in his life. The charges scrolled down the page. Men's clothing stores, a luxury gym membership, Derek's Fitness, cash advances, $5,000, $3,000, $2,400, hotels, the Riverside Inn over and over. Second envelope, Chase MasterCard, balance $15,200. More charges, jewelry stores, electronics, cash advances, restaurants Harold had never been to. Third envelope, Discover Card, balance $13,600. Car payments, insurance, more hotels, $47,200, 3 months of charges. Harold's pension was $2,100 a month. This would take 2 years to pay off if he stopped eating. He checked the signature on the applications, printed on the back of the statements. Harold E. Watkins. His name, but not his handwriting. The loops were wrong, the slant too steep. Forged. Harold drove to the county courthouse. 20 minutes in the snow, hands gripping the wheel so tight his knuckles went white. The courthouse smelled like old wood and floor wax. Built in 1889, stone and oak, the kind of building that made you feel small. Harold found the county clerk's office on the 2nd floor. The clerk was a woman in her 50s, bored and helpful, in equal measure. "What can I do for you?" "I need to see the deed for my property." Harold gave her the address. "Sure thing, give me a minute." She disappeared into a back room, came back with a thick folder, set it on the counter. Harold opened it, his hands were shaking again. Original deed, 1973, Harold and Emma Watkins. He remembered signing it. Emma beside him, both of them 21 years old and terrified of the mortgage. Underneath, a quitclaim deed, filed November 14th. The farm, all 180 acres, transferred to Diane Watkins, sole owner. Harold's signature at the bottom, except it wasn't his signature. Same forgery as the credit cards, same wrong loops and steep slant. Notary seal looked real, though. Nancy Morrison, county notary. Either she was in on it or Diane had fooled her somehow. "Ma'am?" Harold's voice came out hoarse. "Are there any mortgages on this property?" The clerk typed into her computer. "Let me check." The keyboard clicked. Harold watched her face, trying to read the news before she said it. Original mortgage from 1973, paid off in 1998. She squinted at the screen. And a new mortgage filed December 2nd, $220,000, against an assessed value of $847,000. The room tilted. "Who's the lender?" First National Bank. Loan officer? She clicked again. Derek Kowalski. There it was. Derek. Not just Diane's lover. Her accomplice. Any upcoming transactions? Harold barely got the words out. Sale pending February 15th to Mountain Ridge LLC, Delaware Corporation. Purchase price $620,000. That's my farm. The clerk looked up, sympathy in her eyes. According to these documents, sir, it's hers to sell. Harold sat in his truck in the courthouse parking lot. Couldn't drive, hands shaking too hard. The documents were spread across the passenger seat. Quitclaim deed, mortgage, power of attorney he'd never signed, giving Diane authority to act on his behalf. She'd done all this while he slept. While he ate breakfast and read the paper and worked in the garage and lived his ordinary life, she'd been dismantling everything. February 15th. 6 weeks away. 6 weeks until he lost the farm Emma and he had built. The land where they'd raised 2 kids, planted 50 gardens, buried 3 dogs and 1 cat. The fields Emma had loved, where she'd walked every evening watching for deer. His phone rang. Jennifer. Weekly Sunday call, except it was Tuesday. Harold stared at the phone. He had to tell her. Had to admit what a fool he'd been. He answered. Dad, you okay? You never call midweek. Harold opened his mouth. Nothing came out. His throat closed up. 50 years of holding things in, suddenly too much to break through. Dad, what's wrong? Are you hurt? Jen, His voice broke. I messed up bad. The story poured out. The affair, the credit cards, the courthouse, the documents, February 15th. Everything. Harold crying in the courthouse parking lot, phone pressed to his ear. First time Jennifer had heard him cry since Emma's funeral. Silence on the other end. Then, I'm coming home. Today. I don't want your money, Jen. This isn't about money, Dad. Her voice was steel. This is about Mom's farm, her legacy, what you two built together. The guilt hit him like a fist. His stupidity had cost Jennifer her inheritance. Emma's daughter, and he'd let some woman steal what Emma had left for her. I should have been there, Jennifer said, and now she was crying too. After the wedding, I stayed away because I was hurt, and that was selfish, and I'm sorry. It ain't your fault. I'm bringing help. A private investigator. We're going to fix this. Can we? Harold looked at the documents. Legal, notarized, filed with the county. Fix it? We're damn well going to try. Jennifer's voice steadied. Don't let her know we talked. Act normal. I'll be there Friday with the investigator. How do I act normal when I know all this? You're the toughest man I know, Dad. You raised me. You survived Vietnam. You took care of Mom through cancer. You can do 3 more days. I ain't tough, Jen. I'm just old and stupid. No, her voice went soft. You're trusting. There's a difference. And we're going to use her trust against her. She hung up. Harold sat holding the phone, staring at the documents that said he no longer owned his own life. A Mercedes pulled into the parking lot. Silver, Diane's car. Harold's stomach dropped. She'd followed him, or tracked his phone, or just knew somehow, the way predators knew when prey was getting dangerous. She parked 3 spots away, got out, walked toward his truck, wearing sunglasses even though it was overcast, expensive coat, heels that clicked on the pavement, tapped on his window. Harold rolled it down. What are you doing here? Diane asked. Pleasant voice, but her jaw was tight. Paying a parking ticket. At the courthouse? That's where you pay parking tickets. She looked at the passenger seat. At the documents spread there, Harold saw her eyes track across them, saw the calculation happening behind those sunglasses. What's that? Nothing. Old tax papers. Looks like deed paperwork. Just organizing files. Getting ready for tax season. Diane smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. You should have told me you were coming to town. We could have had lunch. Didn't know I needed permission. You don't. I just worry about you, honey. You seem stressed lately. She leaned in through the window, kissed his cheek. Her perfume was too strong, cloying in the cold air. I'll see you at home, she said. I'm making pot roast tonight. She walked back to her Mercedes, started it up, sat there, engine running, watching him in her rearview mirror. Harold gathered the documents, stuffed them under his seat, started his truck, drove out of the parking lot watching her watch him in his mirror. She followed him for 5 miles before turning off toward town. Harold made it home, pulled into the garage, sat in the truck with the engine off. 3 more days. He had to pretend everything was fine for 3 more days. He looked at his hands on the steering wheel. Rough, scarred, age-spotted, shaking. These hands had held Emma through 52 years, had held his babies when they were born, had built half this house, planted 1,000 gardens, fixed broken things, worked hard jobs. These hands had never hit anyone except in war. But right now, Harold understood why men did violence. Understood it bone deep in a way he never had before. He got out of the truck and went inside to eat pot roast with the woman stealing his life. Friday afternoon, Jennifer arrived with a man carrying a file box and a laptop. Marcus Webb, the private investigator. 55, ex-cop, the kind of face that had seen things and remembered them. Diane was shopping. Jennifer had called ahead, timed it perfectly. They spread everything on the kitchen table. Emma's table, now covered in evidence of Harold's destruction. Marcus opened his laptop first. Mr. Watkins, your wife is Diane Marie Kowalski, age 52, born in Muncie, Indiana. He turned the screen. A driver's license photo from Indiana. Same face, different name. Diane Morrison on Harold's marriage certificate. Diane Kowalski in the system. She uses variations. Diane Matthews. Diane Miller. Depends on the mark. Mark. That's what Harold was. Not a husband, a mark. I've tracked 4 cases in the last 6 years. Marcus pulled files from his box, set them in a row. Arthur Brennan, Indianapolis, widower, 72, met her at a senior center in 2018, married within 5 months, lost $430,000 before his family intervened. He died last year, broken. Marcus opened the next file. Leonard Voss, Madison, Wisconsin, widower, 68, met her at church. She cleaned him out while he had pneumonia. He died before the case went to court. Heart attack. Another file. Thomas Garrett, Akron, Ohio, widower, 70. His daughter got suspicious, hired me. We caught it early. Diane disappeared before closing, left Derek to clean up. They moved to the next state. And Marcus looked up at Harold. You're number 4 that we know of. Could be more. Harold stared at the faces in the files. Old men, lonely, looking for someone to fill the empty space their wives left behind. Men just like him. Arthur Brennan's family recorded a testimony before he died. Marcus clicked his laptop. You should watch it. The video played. Arthur Brennan, maybe 75 in the recording, sitting in a lawyer's office. Thin, exhausted, defeated. I thought she loved me, Arthur said to the camera. My wife Margaret died, and I was so alone. Diane made me feel seen again, made me feel like I mattered. Harold's chest tightened. I didn't know about the credit cards until the bills came. Didn't know about the mortgage until the bank called. By then she was gone. Took everything Margaret and I built in 47 years. Arthur looked directly at the camera. If you're watching this, if she got you too, don't be ashamed. These people are professionals. They know exactly what they're doing. The video ended. Harold sat still as stone. Jennifer's hand found his across the table. There's one more thing, Marcus said carefully. About Derek. He pulled up DMV records, birth certificate, turned the screen. Derek Michael Kowalski, born 1982. Mother, Diane Marie Kowalski. Father, unknown. He's her son. The room went silent. Harold's brain scrambled, trying to reorder everything he thought he knew. The affair, the hotel rooms, the Corvette, the Cologne, the kisses Cal had seen. They're not lovers, Marcus said. They're business partners, mother and son. They've been running this con for at least 12 years, probably longer. Started after Diane's 3rd divorce left her bankrupt. He pulled up photos, surveillance shots of Diane and Derek at a bank, counting money, laughing, high-fiving. The body language was all wrong for romance. Right there in the pictures. Obvious now that Harold knew what to look for. Derek works at First National. Processes mortgage applications. Forges documents. Creates shell companies to buy properties. Mountain Ridge, LLC, the company buying your farm. That's registered to Derek's P.O. box. Marcus pulled up an audio file. Clicked play. Derek's voice. Tinny through the laptop speakers. How much we getting off this one, Ma? Ma. He called her Ma. Diane's voice. 847 assessed. We'll clear about 620 after the mortgage payoff. Split it 60-40 like always. Old bastard didn't suspect nothing. Please, he's the easiest one yet. Practically begged me to marry him. They laughed, both of them laughing. Harold felt something cold settle in his chest. Not the hot rage from before. Something colder, clearer. The affair was cover, Marcus said. Made you think it was about sex, ego, a younger man. When, really, it's just theft. Cold, calculated, professional theft. She's done it 4 times that we know of. Made over $1 million. And she's good at it. Jennifer's hand tightened on Harold's. We can stop them, Dad, but we have to move fast. Marcus pulled out a legal pad. Here's the strategy. We file a police report Monday morning, identity theft, forgery, elder fraud, emergency restraining order against both of them, injunction to stop the February 15th sale, freeze all accounts, void the power of attorney, and quitclaim deed, build a criminal case for the DA. Tom Cassidy's handling the legal, Jennifer added. Cal told Pastor Mike. And the church is raising a legal fund. Harold's head snapped up. Wait, church knows? Cal had to tell someone. They want to help. Everyone's gonna know. Harold's voice went hollow. Diner, VFW, everyone. Yes, Marcus said bluntly. Court records are public. Local paper will probably cover it. You're going to be exposed. I can't. People knowing I was this stupid. Dad, Jennifer's voice cut through. They already know. The question is, do you fight back or let her win? Harold looked at the files spread across Emma's table. Arthur Brennan's defeated face, Leonard Voss's obituary, Thomas Garrett's daughter's statement about finding her father contemplating suicide, men who'd lost everything because they were lonely and trusting and human. He looked at the photo of Emma on the wall, their wedding day, 1972. Both of them impossibly young, impossibly hopeful. What would Emma want? He asked, not sure if he was talking to Jennifer or to the photo. Mom would kick your ass for even asking. Jennifer's voice was fierce. She'd fight. Harold nodded slowly. Then we fight. File everything. I don't care who knows. Yeah, you're sure? Marcus leaned forward. Once we start, it's public, it's ugly, and Diane will know you're onto her. Harold thought about Old Fool Bought It, and about Just Like the Others, about Emma's farm, their farm, being sold to a shell company in Delaware. Let her know. His voice was steady for the first time in weeks. I'm done being quiet. A car crunched gravel in the driveway, Diane's Mercedes. Jennifer and Marcus looked at Harold. He looked at the evidence spread across the table. Hide it, he said. Act normal. They scrambled. Documents back in the box, laptop closed. Marcus carried everything to the guest room. Jennifer started washing coffee cups. The front door opened. Harold, I'm home! Diane's voice, bright and cheerful, playing wife. Harold stood at the kitchen sink, hands gripping the counter edge. Jennifer touched his shoulder, whispered, 3 days. You can do 3 days. Diane appeared in the doorway, shopping bags in hand, saw Jennifer, and something flickered across her face. Surprise, calculation, then the smile. Jennifer, what a nice surprise, staying for dinner? Can't, Jennifer said smoothly. Just stopped by on my way through. Have to get back to the kids. She hugged Harold, whispered in his ear, Monday morning, courthouse, we end this. She left. Harold heard her car start, drive away. Diane set her bags down, moved close to Harold, slid her arms around his waist from behind, her cheek against his back. I'm glad she visited, Diane said. It's good for you to see family. Harold looked out the kitchen window. At the fields Emma had loved, at the barn they'd built in 1985, at the garden plot where Emma had grown tomatoes for 50 years. Yeah, he said. It's good. Diane squeezed him, kissed his shoulder, went upstairs to put away her purchases. Harold stood at the sink, alone, counting down. 3 more days, then war. Tuesday morning, 7 a.m., the doorbell rang. Harold was already awake, hadn't slept more than an hour. Yesterday, they'd filed everything. Police report, restraining order, injunction. The lawyer said the judge would rule by end of week. He opened the door. Betty from the diner stood on the porch, holding the Ashford County Weekly. Harold. Her voice was soft, sad. I'm sorry. Thought you should see it before everyone else does. She handed him the newspaper and left without another word. The headline took up half the front page. Local woman tied to multi-state elder fraud ring. Harold's knees went weak. He sat on the porch step right there in the cold and read. Diane Kowalski, 52, was arrested Monday on charges of identity theft, forgery, and elder fraud. Kowalski, who has used several aliases, including Diane Morrison and Diane Matthews, is connected to similar cases in Indiana, Wisconsin, and Ohio. Local resident Harold Watkins, 68, is identified as the most recent victim. According to court documents, Kowalski allegedly forged Watkins' signature on multiple financial instruments, including credit cards and a mortgage against his property. Her son, Derek Kowalski, 42, a loan officer at First National Bank, was also arrested on charges of conspiracy and mortgage fraud. They'd used his old church directory photo. 1995, Harold at 58, hair still dark, face not yet lined, looking at the camera like a man who still believed the world was basically fair. The shame hit him like a physical thing, crushed his chest, stopped his breathing. 8,400 people in Ashford County. Every single one of them would read this. Would know Harold Watkins got fooled by a con artist. Got taken for a fool at 68 years old. His phone started ringing. Cal, Pastor Mike, Marcus Williams from the VFW, church ladies. 12 missed calls by 8 a.m. Harold turned the phone off, went inside, locked the door, pulled the curtains, sat in Emma's chair by the window, and stared at nothing. Thursday morning, Harold made himself go to the diner. Tried for normal, routine. 40 years of coffee at Betty's place. He wasn't going to let Diane take that too. The conversation stopped when he walked in. Every head turned. Every eye found him, then looked away too fast, like they'd been caught staring at a car accident. Harold took his usual booth by the window, hands folded on the table, waiting. Betty brought coffee without asking. Black, no cream. Set it down, patted his shoulder once, walked away without speaking. The four men at the corner booth, Eddie, Jimmy, Frank, Pete, men he'd known 30 years, suddenly found their eggs fascinating. Harold heard the whisper from the booth behind him. Young voice, maybe 20. That's the guy. Old dude, whose wife was screwing some gym rat half his age. Another voice. How do you not notice someone forging your signature on everything? Dumbass probably can't even see straight anymore. Laughter. Quiet, but not quiet enough. Harold's ears burned. His hands shook holding the coffee cup. He took one sip. Tasted like ashes. Left 75 cents on the table. Stood. Walked out. Betty watched him go. Didn't try to stop him. What could she say? First time in 40 years, Harold hadn't finished his coffee at Betty's. Thursday night was poker at the VFW. Harold had gone every Thursday since 1975. Missed maybe 10 nights in 49 years. Births, Emma's surgery, his own father's funeral. He didn't go. Sat at home in the dark instead. Lights off, TV off, just sitting. Cal called. Harold didn't answer. Jennifer called. Didn't answer. Tom Cassidy, the lawyer, didn't answer. Pastor Mike left a voicemail. Harold, it's Mike. Just checking on you. Call me when you can. Or stop by. Door's always open. Harold deleted it without listening to the whole thing. Saturday afternoon, Cal let himself in with the spare key. Harold had given it to him years ago when Emma was sick and they needed someone to check on the house. Cal found him in Emma's chair, unshaven, still wearing the same clothes from Thursday. House dark even though it was 2 in the afternoon. Jesus, Harold. Cal flipped on lights. How long you been sitting here? Harold didn't answer. Cal walked through the house. Dirty dishes in the sink, mail piled on the floor. The place smelled stale, lived in too long without fresh air. He came back to the living room, stood in front of Harold's chair. When's the last time you ate? Harold shrugged. When's the last time you showered? No answer. Cal crouched down, looked Harold in the face. You gonna talk to me, or are we just gonna sit here? I ain't worth the trouble, Cal. Harold's voice came out flat, dead. Just let me be. Like hell. Cal stood, yanked the curtains open. Sunlight flooded the room. Harold winced. You think I let Dorothy give up when the Alzheimer's got bad? When she forgot my name? Forgot we were married. Forgot 50 years. Cal's voice cracked. I didn't let her quit. I ain't letting you quit either. This is different. How? You're suffering. You want to stop existing. That's the same damn thing. Harold looked at him finally. Everyone knows Cal. Diner, church, everywhere. They all know I was stupid enough to let this happen. So what? Cal moved to the window, looked out at the frozen fields. You think people are sitting around talking about how dumb Harold Watkins is? They ain't. They're thinking, that could have been me. That could have been my daddy. That could have been my granddad. You didn't hear them at the diner. I don't care what some punk kid said at the diner. Cal turned back. I care that you're sitting here in the dark thinking about giving up. And I ain't allowing it. You can't stop me. Watch me. Cal grabbed Harold's arm, pulled him up. Harold was too weak to resist much. You're going to shower. I'm going to make you eat. Then we're going to talk about why Emma would be ashamed to see you like this. That got through. Harold's face crumpled. She'd be furious, Cal said, voice softer now. Not at you for getting fooled. At you for quitting. Emma didn't quit, not even when the cancer was eating her alive. And you ain't quitting either. Cal half dragged him to the bathroom, turned on the shower. Get in. I'll be right outside this door. You got 10 minutes? Harold stood there, staring at the steam rising. Emma wouldn't let me give up on you, Cal said from the doorway. So I ain't. He closed the door, stayed outside, waiting. Harold looked at himself in the mirror, unshaven, red-eyed, hollow. An old man who'd already given up. Emma would have kicked my ass. He stripped off his clothes, got in the shower. The hot water hit his skin and something broke inside him. Harold slid down the tile wall and cried. Sitting on the shower floor, water beating down on him, crying like he hadn't cried since they buried Emma. Cal was right. Emma would be ashamed, not of being fooled, of giving up, of wasting the time they'd had. Harold stayed in the shower until the water ran cold. Then he got out, dried off, put on clean clothes. Found Cal in the kitchen, heating up something in a pan. Smelled like tomato soup. Sit, Cal said. Harold sat, ate the soup and crackers Cal put in front of him. First food in 2 days. Judge ruled, Cal said after Harold finished. Restraining order approved. Property sale stopped. Criminal trials set for May. Harold nodded. Tom Cassidy's partners told him to drop your case. Said it was bad for business. Harold's stomach sank. So I don't have a lawyer. You got a lawyer? Tom told his partners to go to hell. He's working pro bono until this settles. Said some things matter more than partnership money. Something loosened in Harold's chest. Not hope exactly, but something close. Church raised $12,000 for your legal fund, Cal continued. VFW boys kicked in another $3. Betty closed the diner for an hour Tuesday so she could go to the courthouse. Testified about the photos she took of Diane and Derek counting money. Harold looked up. Betty took photos. Course she did. She lost her mama to a scam like this 10 years ago. Betty's got zero tolerance. Cal sat across from him. You ain't alone in this, Harold. You got an army. But we can't fight for you if you're sitting in the dark, waiting to die. Harold's hands were steady on the table. First time in days. You ready to fight? Cal asked. Harold thought about the farm, about Emma's garden, about Jennifer's inheritance, about the other men, Arthur Brennan, Leonard Voss, who'd lost everything. Yeah, he said. I'm ready. Good. Cal stood, poured them both more coffee. Then get ready. Friday morning, courthouse. We're going to war. Friday evening, Cal picked Harold up at 6. Wouldn't say where they were going, just trust me. They pulled into the VFW hall parking lot. 20 cars already there. I ain't ready for poker night, Cal. Ain't poker night. Cal got out of the truck. Come on. Harold followed him inside. The hall smelled like it always did. Stale beer, floor wax, old wood that had soaked up 50 years of cigarette smoke before the ban. 23 men stood when Harold walked in, clapping. Harold stopped in the doorway, overwhelmed, wanted to run. Marcus Williams stepped forward, black 69, Vietnam, same time as Harold. They'd served together in Da Nang, came home on the same transport. Harold, sit down. We got things to say. They led him to a chair. Harold sat, hands gripping his knees, looking at faces he'd known for decades. Marcus stood in front of him. Harold, you know how many men in this room you helped over the years? Harold shook his head. I do. I counted. Marcus's voice was steady, strong. 1987, you co-signed a loan for me when the bank wouldn't give me one. Said a black trucker wasn't good credit risk. You walked in with me, put your name on that paper, didn't ask nothing in return. That truck paid for my daughter's college. He pointed at Eddie. Eddie's son needed a job. You got him into county surveying, taught him the trade yourself. Kid's making $60,000 a year now. Got 2 babies. Pointed at Jimmy. Jimmy's roof after the tornado in '92. You and Cal rebuilt it. Wouldn't take a dime. Around the room. Story after story. Harold had forgotten half of them. Just things you did for neighbors, for friends, for people who needed help. You never asked our color, Marcus said. Never asked our politics, our religion, nothing. You asked, you need help? That's it. That's who you are. His voice got louder. Now you need help, and we ain't asking permission. The men applauded. Harold's eyes stung. Legal funds at $12,000, Marcus continued. Church ladies, diner regulars, folks who know you. Betty from the diner kicked in $500 herself. Said her mama got scammed, and she'll be damned if it happens to someone she knows. Tom Cassidy stepped forward from the back. Gray suit, reading glasses on a chain, briefcase in hand. Harold, my firm's partners told me to drop your case. Said defending you is bad for business. Might alienate wealthy clients. Tom set his briefcase down. I told them to shove it. I'm going pro bono until we settle this. 40 years of friendship, I ain't walking away now. Someone whistled. Others clapped. Restraining orders approved, Tom said. Property sales stopped. Court date for the criminal trial is May 7th. We got 4 months to build the case, and we got everything we need. Surveillance footage from Cal, bank records, phone records, testimony from Indiana and Wisconsin, Betty's photos, that text message you screenshotted. Tom looked at Harold dead on. We're gonna win this. Not just win, we're gonna bury them. Harold found his voice. I don't deserve this. Shut up, Marcus said, not unkindly. Ain't about deserving. It's about family. We're your family. You were there for us. Now we're here for you. The men gathered around, shaking his hand, hugging him. Eddie, Jimmy, Frank, Pete, men from the corner booth at the diner who couldn't meet his eyes Thursday morning. Sorry about the diner, Eddie said quietly. Didn't know what to say. Felt wrong, saying nothing. But saying something felt worse. It's okay. No, it ain't, but we're here now. They stayed for 2 hours, drinking coffee, not beer, talking strategy. Who'd testify? What evidence went where? How to make sure Diane and Derek went to prison, not just lost the case. When Harold left, Marcus walked him to Cal's truck. You remember Da Nang? Marcus asked. That night in January '70, Mortars coming in, everyone hitting the dirt? Harold nodded, remembered it like yesterday. You pulled me into that bunker. I froze up, you grabbed my belt and yanked me in, probably saved my life. You'd have done the same. Maybe. Point is, you did it. Didn't think about it, just did it. Marcus gripped Harold's shoulder. Now let us pull you into the bunker. Stop fighting us. Harold's throat tightened. Okay. Good. See you in court. Sunday afternoon, Harold sat on his porch. First time in weeks he'd been outside without needing to go somewhere. A car pulled up. Pastor Mike. Not in his church clothes. Jeans and a flannel shirt. Wedding ring catching the afternoon sun. Mind if I sit? Mike asked. Harold gestured to the other chair. Mike sat, didn't speak for a while. Both of them looking out at the fields, the winter-brown grass, the tree line dark against gray sky. If you're here to tell me God has a plan. Nope. Mike's voice was casual. Here to tell you Emma would kick your ass. Harold turned, surprised. Emma fought pancreatic cancer for 14 months. You know what she told me the day before she died? Harold shook his head, not trusting his voice. She said, tell Harold not to waste the time we had. Tell him to live. Mike looked at him. This? Sitting here feeling sorry for yourself? This is wasting it. She'd be ashamed I got fooled. She'd be furious you're letting that woman win. Mike leaned forward. Emma wasn't about never falling. She was about getting back up. You remember when she fell off that ladder fixing the gutter, broke her wrist? 2015. She was back up that ladder 2 weeks later, cast and all. Said gravity didn't get to win just because it knocked her down once. Harold almost smiled. You got a choice, said Harold. Hide until you die, or fight for what you two built. Which one honors her memory? The question sat between them. Harold looked at the fields Emma had loved. The garden plot where she'd grown tomatoes for 50 years. The oak tree she'd planted in 1973, now 40 feet tall. I'm scared, Harold admitted. Court, everyone watching. Diane and her lawyers. What if I mess it up? You won't. You got Tom Cassidy. You got evidence. You got a whole town behind you. Mike stood to leave. And you got something Diane don't have. What's that? The truth. And people who actually give a damn about you. He left. Harold sat on the porch as the sun started setting, painting the winter sky orange and purple. He spoke out loud to Emma's ghost. Okay, Em, you win. I'll fight. Stood up, went inside. Found Tom Cassidy's card on the kitchen counter. Dialed. Tom, it's Harold. I want my farm back. Tell me how. Tom's voice came through steady. Come by the office tomorrow morning. Bring coffee. We got work to do. I'll be there. Harold hung up, looked at Emma's photo on the wall. Her smile, her eyes, the way she'd looked at him for 52 years like he was worth something. I'm doing this for you, he said. For us, for what we built. The house felt less empty than it had in weeks. Monday morning, Harold's kitchen table looked like a war room. Tom Cassidy had spread documents everywhere. Laptop open, legal pads covered in notes. Jennifer was there, Marcus Webb, the PI. Cal at the coffee pot, keeping everyone fueled. Hearings Friday at 9 a.m., Tom said. Judge Carolyn Martinez, she's good. Has zero tolerance for elder abuse. Seen her shut down 3 cases like this. He walked Harold through the evidence. Cal's surveillance footage. Time-stamped, clear as day. Bank records showing the money trail. Credit card statements with forged signatures. The quitclaim deed with handwriting analysis. Betty's diner photos. The text message. Old fool bought it. Jennifer's reading a victim impact statement, Tom said. That'll be powerful. Daughter's perspective. What she witnessed, Jennifer nodded. Already written it, practiced it. I won't cry until after. Phone records show 73 calls between Diane and Derek in 3 months, Marcus added, including 5 the day she signed the mortgage papers. Clear coordination. Tom looked at Harold. Your job is simple. Testify calmly. Answer questions directly. Don't get emotional. Don't rage at her. Quiet dignity wins this. I can do quiet dignity, Harold said. Done it 70 years. One more thing. Tom's voice went serious. Diane will be there. Her lawyer will be there. Big city firm, expensive suits. They'll try to make you look senile, confused, like you consented to everything. They'll bring up your age, your grief over Emma, imply you weren't thinking clearly. Let them try. And then Diane might testify. If she does, she'll perform. Cry, say she loved you, say it was all a misunderstanding. Harold thought about Christmas Eve. The pie, the tears, the apology, all performance. I'll be ready. Court records are public, Tom warned again. Media will be there. This is going to be very, very public. They already know, Harold said. Question is whether they'll know I fought back. Tom smiled. Yeah, they'll know. Cal refilled everyone's coffee, set a hand on Harold's shoulder. Ready for war? Harold looked around the table. His daughter, his neighbor, his lawyer, the PI who'd tracked Diane across 3 states, his army. "Ready," Harold said. Friday morning, 9 a.m. Harold stood on the courthouse steps in his only suit, the one he'd worn to Emma's funeral. Didn't fit quite right anymore, but it was clean and pressed. Jennifer straightened his tie. "You ready, Dad?" Harold looked up at the courthouse. Stone and oak, built 1889. The kind of building that made you feel small on purpose. "Ready as I'll be." They walked in together. The gallery was full. VFW boys in their caps. Church ladies with purses clutched tight. Betty from the diner, she'd closed for the morning, put a sign on the door. "Important business. Back at noon." Cal sat front row, center, gave Harold a nod. Tom Cassidy waited at the plaintiff's table, documents arranged in perfect stacks. Remember, calm, direct, dignified. The side door opened. Diane walked in, expensive black suit, hair perfect. Confident walk, like she was attending a business meeting, not a hearing on fraud charges. Derek followed. Gold chain visible under his shirt collar, Corvette keys in his hand, deliberately visible. Smug expression, like this was all some inconvenience he'd clear up by lunch. Their lawyer wore a 3-piece suit that probably cost more than Harold's truck. Briefcase, expensive watch, dismissive glance at Tom's small-town setup. Diane saw Harold, smiled. Small, cold, predatory. Harold looked right back, didn't look away. The bailiff stood. "All rise." Honorable Judge Carolyn Martinez presiding. Judge Martinez entered. Black woman, maybe 62, gray hair pulled back tight, sharp eyes that missed nothing. She sat, arranged her papers, looked out at the courtroom. "This is a hearing on an emergency restraining order and injunction to stop a property sale. Mr. Cassidy, present your case." Tom stood, buttoned his jacket, faced the judge like he'd done this 1,000 times. He was methodical, clinical, each piece of evidence presented clearly, building the case brick by brick. Forged signatures on credit cards. Handwriting analysis proving forgery. Timeline showing charges began 1 month after marriage. Forged mortgage documents. Power of attorney. Harold never signed. Quitclaim deed transferring the farm to Diane's name alone. Derek Kowalski's role as loan officer, processing the fraudulent mortgage. Mountain Ridge LLC registered to his P.O. box. Cal's surveillance footage played on a monitor. Diane and Derek meeting at the diner, kissing in Harold's driveway. The body language wrong for romance, right for conspiracy. Marcus Webb's investigation. The pattern across 3 states. Arthur Brennan's recorded testimony played in the silent courtroom. "I thought she loved me. My wife Margaret died, and I was so alone. Diane made me feel seen again." Harold watched Diane's lawyer shift in his seat. Diane's face stayed blank, but her hands gripped the table edge. Betty's surveillance photos. Diane and Derek at the bank counting money, laughing, high-fiving. The text message, enlarged on a screen. "Old fool bought it. Feb 15 closing. Then we're clear." Harold testified. Tom walked him through it carefully. Discovery of the hotel receipt. The confrontation. Christmas reconciliation. Finding the text at midnight. Credit card statements. The courthouse visit. Harold's voice stayed steady. No emotion, just facts. Quiet dignity like Tom coached. "Thank you, Mr. Watkins," Judge Martinez said. You may step down." Jennifer stood. Read her statement from a paper that shook slightly in her hands. "Your Honor, I'm Harold Watkins' daughter. I watched my father, a strong, steady man who raised me and my brother, who took care of my mother through pancreatic cancer, who served his country and his community. I watched him become a hollow shell." Her voice cracked. "I found him in a dark house, unfed, unshaven, contemplating whether living was worth the effort, because this woman made him believe he was worthless, that he should be grateful anyone would touch him." In tears now, but she kept reading. "My mother built that farm. She planted every garden, chose every tree. Watching someone try to steal it felt like watching them rob her grave." The gallery was silent. Several church ladies crying openly, "My father isn't a fool. He's a trusting man who lost his wife and wanted to believe in second chances. That's not weakness. That's courage. And these people targeted that courage like predators." She sat down. Harold's hand found hers under the table. Judge Martinez's face was stern, controlled fury barely contained. "Ms. Kowalski, does your counsel wish to present evidence?" Diane's lawyer stood. "Your Honor, we contend that Ms. Kowalski and Mr. Watkins had a marital agreement regarding finances, that Mr. Watkins was fully aware. I'm asking your client." The judge's voice cut like glass. "Miss Kowalski, do you wish to speak?" Diane stood, ignored her lawyer's hand trying to stop her. "This is ridiculous." Her voice was ice. "He signed those documents. He knew what he was signing." The handwriting analysis says otherwise," Tom interjected. "He's a pathetic old fool who should be grateful." Diane's mask cracked, voice rising. Grateful anyone touched him? Look at him. Old, fat, boring, useless. The gallery gasped. Judge Martinez leaned forward. Derek is twice the man he'll ever be. Diane's control was gone now, rage pouring out. He's too stupid to know when he's being played. Old fool bought it. Damn right he did. Just like the others. Her lawyer was trying to pull her back down. She shoved him away. Derek jumped up. She's right. Old bastard had it coming. He lunged toward Harold's table. Protective instinct toward his mother, masculine rage that someone had challenged them. Bailiffs intercepted him, slammed him against the wall, restrained him. Derek screaming, "We earned that money. You don't deserve it." Bailiffs, remove Mr. Kowalski from my courtroom. Judge Martinez's gavel cracked like thunder. They dragged Derek out, still yelling. Diane realized what she'd done. Tried to recover. Your Honor, I apologize. I didn't mean. Save it. Judge Martinez's voice could have frozen water. I've heard enough. She looked at the documents in front of her, at Harold, at Diane. I'm voiding all documents signed in Mr. Watkins' name without his legitimate consent. That includes the quitclaim deed, the mortgage, the power of attorney, and all credit card applications. The property at 1847 County Road 12 is restored to Harold Eugene Watkins as sole owner. Diane's face went white. Restraining order granted. 500 feet minimum distance. No contact of any kind. The property sale scheduled for February 15th is canceled and void. The judge looked at Diane with open contempt. I'm referring this case to the district attorney for criminal prosecution. Charges of identity theft, forgery, elder abuse, and conspiracy. Bailiffs, Ms. Kowalski is to be escorted from this courthouse. Diane was led out in handcuffs, mascara running, still yelling, "You'll die alone. Pathetic. No one will want you." Harold watched her go. His expression didn't change. The gallery erupted. Applause. Church ladies crying. VFW boys on their feet. Tom shook Harold's hand. We won. Jennifer hugged him tight. Mom would be so proud. Outside the courthouse, reporters waited. Microphones, cameras, notebooks. Watkins, how do you feel? Harold paused, chose his words carefully. I want to thank Judge Martinez for her wisdom and fairness. I want to thank my daughter, Jennifer, for not giving up on me when I gave up on myself. I want to thank Cal Hendricks, Tom Cassidy, Marcus Williams, Pastor Mike, Betty, and everyone who stood by me. A reporter pushed forward. Watkins, your wife said you should be grateful. She's not my wife. Marriage based on fraud isn't marriage. Harold looked directly at the camera. And she said I should be grateful. She's right. I am grateful. Grateful for friends who wouldn't let me quit. Grateful for a community that takes care of its own. But he paused. But being grateful isn't the same as being pathetic. There's a difference. Another reporter. What message do you have for other seniors? If something feels wrong, it probably is. Trust your gut. And trust your people. They see things you can't. Don't be ashamed to ask for help. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. Cal stepped forward, hand on Harold's shoulder, Marcus Williams beside him. This man's a hero to us, Marcus said. Always has been. And the community applauded. Harold stood there, overwhelmed but standing straight. They walked to Cal's truck. Harold stopped, turned back to the courthouse. Saw Diane in a police car, handcuffed, face pressed against the window. Harold didn't wave, didn't gloat, just nodded once. Acknowledgement, not triumph. Got in the truck. Cal drove away. You okay? Cal asked. Yeah, Harold said, and meant it. 6 weeks later, early March. Harold knelt in Emma's garden, dirt under his fingernails. The seed packets were laid out beside him. Tomatoes, peppers, green beans, all saved from Emma's plants labeled in her handwriting. 2019, last harvest before the diagnosis. Okay, Em, Harold said to the morning air. Tomatoes in the south corner like you always wanted. He planted methodically. Press hole, drop seed, cover, pat down. The ritual Emma had taught him 50 years ago. I know I'm late. Should have done this 3 years ago. His hands worked the soil. But I'm here now. Better late than never, right? First green shoots were already visible from early planting 2 weeks back. The garden was coming back to life. A robin sang from the oak tree Emma had planted in 1973. Spring sound. Promise of warmth coming. Cal's truck pulled up the drive. He got out with a thermos, 2 cups. Thought you might need fuel. Harold stood, knees protesting, accepted the coffee. They stood together, looking at the garden, the fields, the tree lines starting to show hints of green. Garden looks good, Cal said. Emma would be proud. Think so? No so. They drank coffee in comfortable silence. 2 old men watching spring come to frozen ground. You hear about the sentencing? Cal asked. Jennifer told me. Diane got 5 years. Derek got 7. Feel good? Harold thought about it. Feel finished. That part's over. What's next? Harold looked at the garden. This. Living. Sunday dinner had become a ritual. Jennifer and the kids, every week without fail. Today, Cal and Tom were coming too. The kitchen was chaos. Jennifer at the stove making Emma's pot roast recipe, the grandkids underfoot, asking questions, sneaking tastes. Harold set the table. The same oak table from 50 years of dinners. 7 places now. Emma, the granddaughter, tugged his sleeve. "Grandpa, how come you smile more now?" Harold crouched down to her level. "Because you're here, sweetheart. You were sad before." "I was, for a while. But not anymore? Not like I was." He tweaked her nose. "You help with that." The doorbell. Cal and Tom together. Cal had picked Tom up. Tom brought wine. Cal brought dessert. Betty's apple pie from the diner. Real one this time. Handmade crust. Imperfect and perfect. They gathered around the table. Passing dishes. Talking over each other. Normal family noise. Harold sat at the head. Emma's chair empty across from him, but acknowledged. Her presence in the recipes, the rituals, the love that built this house. Tom raised his glass. To Harold. And to Emma, who built this place. Everyone toasted, drank. "To all of you," Harold said. "Couldn't have done it without you." "Hell, we know that," Cal said. Laughter. The kids confused why the adults were laughing, but laughing anyway. After dinner, dishes in the sink, kids watching a movie in the living room, the adults moved to the porch. Coffee, evening light, March warmth finally breaking winter's grip. Started volunteering at the senior center, Harold said. Teaching financial safety class. Tom helped me put it together. "How's it going?" Jennifer asked. "Good. Helped a man 2 weeks ago. Robert Hitchens, 71. Met a woman, Linda. She wanted him to refinance his house. Consolidate assets. Same pattern Diane used." Harold sipped his coffee. Told him my story. He almost cried. Said I might have saved his life. "You did," Tom said. "Felt good. First time since Emma died, I felt useful." "You've always been useful, you stubborn bastard," Cal said. Harold laughed. Real laugh. Deep and genuine. They sat as the sun set, painting the sky orange and purple. Spring peepers starting their evening chorus from the pond. Cal stood to leave. "See you tomorrow?" "Yeah. I'll have the coffee on." Cal's truck pulled away, taillights disappearing down the gravel drive. Harold stayed on the porch. Alone, but not lonely. Looked at the fields Emma had loved, the garden growing. The oak tree she'd planted, now budding with new leaves, spoke aloud to her ghost. "Emma, I hope you're not too mad at me. I know I was stupid. But I'm trying to do right now." The robins sang from the oak tree, spring continuing its work, indifferent to human drama. "I ain't the same man I was last December," Harold said. "But I'm still here. That's gotta count for something." He went inside to help Jennifer with dishes. Tomorrow he'd work the garden. Tuesday, the senior center. Thursday, poker at the VFW. Life, continuing. Scarred, but standing. 3 months after the courthouse, Harold sat on his porch at sunset. Cal had just left. Jennifer and the kids gone home an hour ago. The house was quiet behind him, but not empty. Just resting. He held his coffee mug, chipped white ceramic with faded red letters. "World's okayest husband." Emma had given it to him in 1985 as a joke. He'd used it almost every day since. The coffee was going cold, but Harold didn't mind. He was watching the deer emerge at the field edge. 6 of them, moving careful and graceful through the twilight. Emma had loved watching them. "Emma," he said to the spring air, "I hope you're not too mad at me. I know I fell for exactly what you would have seen through in 5 minutes." The robin sang from the oak tree. Same bird, Harold liked to think, that had been singing all spring. "But I'm trying to do right now. Garden's growing, Jen and the kids come every Sunday. Cal won't leave me alone. You'd like that." He thought about Robert Hitchens at the senior center, about the conversation that stopped a con before it started, about Arthur Brennan's recorded testimony, and how Harold's story might save the next Arthur. Met a man at the center, stopped him from making my mistakes. That felt good, Em. Like maybe it all meant something. The deer grazed, unconcerned with human problems. Spring doing its work, regardless of Harold's drama. Dignity wasn't about never falling. Harold knew that now. It was about standing back up when people were watching. It was about letting people help you when pride said you should handle it alone. It was about trust being courage, not foolishness. "I ain't the same man I was last December," Harold said, "but I'm still here. That's got to count for something." He finished his coffee, stood from the chair, knees protesting but obeying, went inside to rinse the cup, glanced at Emma's photo on the wall. Wedding day, 1972, both impossibly young, touched the frame. "Good night, Em. See you tomorrow." turned off the kitchen light. The house settled into evening quiet. Through the window, the garden was visible in twilight. First tomato plants, establishing promising fruit come summer. The porch light stayed on. Cal was coming by in the morning, wanted to see the garden's progress. Harold climbed the stairs to bed. Emma's side still empty but no longer painful, just empty. A fact, not a wound. His last thought before sleep, tomorrow, garden, living, community, purpose. That was enough. Outside, the farmhouse stood solid against the darkening sky. Smoke from the chimney, though March nights were warming, lights off except the porch. The house that almost got stolen still stood, still sheltered, still mattered. Spring continued its work. The robin sang, the deer grazed, life went on, and Harold Watkins, 68 years old, widowed, conned, broken, saved, Harold Watkins was still here, still standing, still worthy. The farm would see another harvest.